Hey everyone, I'm back in the saddle. Enjoy this upcoming episode with some guys over at Briggs & Stratton. We got Bob Pomeroy, he's the Senior Product Manager, and Dan Roach, he's the Director of Marketing. He hops on the call a tad later on. You want a sticker?
Yes.
Shoot me an email, turfnerdspodcast@proton.me. They're free.
Wow.
Remember, use the promo code TurfNerds to save 50% off at the Equip Expo. It's coming soon, guys, and you got to save. And we can't forget Ezra McCarthy over at Green Frog Web Design. He's making awesome websites for the lawn and landscaping guys, and he's making a single-page website that's awesome.
Awesome.
Tell him the Turf Nerd sent you, because Uncle Greg, he's going around and he's scalping lawns. If you don't, reach out to Ezra. Enjoy the show.
Hey, it's Aaron with the Mowing in the Dark Lawn Care Podcast.
Hey, this is Tony's Lawn Care Talk.
Hey guys, Cameron here with the Lawn Care Life in Missouri.
Hey guys, this is Dan White with Lawn Care Unscripted.
What up, guys? It's Phil with Phil's Lawn Care.
And you're listening to the Turf Nerds. Greg.
All right. So, all right, let's get this rolling. So, Greg, we've had the opportunities to demo a lot of different mowers over the past month. We demoed the Wright 61 Standards EK and the Ferris. That was a 60 Z3X, and they were both Vanguard engines, and the Ferris had the Vanguard oil guard on it, and I thought that was pretty cool. Some guys know what that is, maybe some guys don't, but we got Bob Pomeroy on here. He's the Senior Product Manager of Briggs & Stratton, and we're going to kind of talk about the Vanguard oil guard system and kind of go through the weeds and the ins and out of it. So, Bob, welcome to Turf Nerds Lawn Care Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us today, Bob. So, what is the Vanguard oil system and how does it work?
So the Vanguard oil system, or the Vanguard oil guard system, is a patented 6-quart oil management system. It uses dry sump technology that's commonly used in racing engines. It allows you to better manage oil flow, filtration, cooling. Conventional engines use a single oil pump. It pulls oil out of the base of the engine and it pumps it up to the bearing surfaces where, the work is done. Whereas the oil guard system uses 2 pumps. One pump sends the hot oil out to the reservoir. It's an external reservoir. And that reservoir does a better job filtering and cooling it than you can do inside the engine. And then another pump, once the oil is filtered, cool, clean, fresh, essentially pumps it back to the bearing surfaces. So engines equipped with oil guard are receiving much cleaner, fresher, cooler oil than a conventional engine.
I mean, this is pretty neat. So you guys have come up with this. Now, what problem was this designed to resolve in the commercial mower world? I mean, guys are out there, and I mean, I can guess, you have to do less oil changes because I hate having to change my oil after every 50 to 100 hours.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, extending oil changes was, the initial big request from the commercial mowing industry. But when we dug into it, before we take on a project, we really dig into the, user community and try to get as much feedback as possible. And, basically what commercial mowers were telling us, commercial cutters were telling us that, if their blades aren't spinning, they're not making money. So uptime is absolutely critical. It's kind of common sense, right? That if you're not mowing, you can't be billing out your time. And time spent in the shop is obviously costing them money instead of making them money. So that was the number one problem that they were having was, downtime due to, extended maintenance on equipment. But really, it was a bit bigger than that. What we learned was the equipment is used pretty much at full tilt, especially during the spring and early summer season when grass is wet and thick, and they really load the engines down. And so some of the other issues they were having is, they were overworking the engines. They were having some durability, reliability problems with them. The engines were getting hot. And so they wanted, something that kept the engine cooler. And so, we didn't just set out to extend the oil changes. We set out to actually help the engine stay cooler. And that's what resulted in the remote tank. The remote tank is in a location where you have cooler air passing over it. And it's made out of aluminum so that it transfers the heat more efficiently. And then there's baffles inside of it that keep the hot oil that comes back from the engine away from the cool oil that's going back out to the bearings. One other problem that we set out to solve was slope side mowing. So, when you're mowing on a steep angle, there's what's called an oil pickup tube inside the engine that hangs down into the base of the engine that holds the oil, a conventional engine. And so when you tilt it on an angle, you can, if you go too far on an angle, you can temporarily run the engine dry. And so if for a conventional engine, if you go, say, more than 25 to 30 degrees, you run the risk of starving the engine of oil, even if the oil level's sufficient. With Oil Guard, you can go up to 45 degrees and you don't have to worry about that. So it's becoming, Vanguard engines with the Oil Guard is becoming the engine of choice for people who mow on steep angles, even some of your new autonomous equipment you're seeing out there where it's remote controlled and they're mowing hillsides with it, equipment like that. So it solves several issues. And there's one other thing that came back, and I can't say that we initially set out with this as the prime goal, but I'll say by happy accident, it ends up being a huge advantage. And that is, not every operator does a thorough job of checking the oil level before they go out and cut. And
no way.
When that happens, and they run it too low or they run it too hard without sufficient oil, now you're looking at a new engine, and that's a huge cost. And so, this 6-quart system virtually eliminates the possibility of them running it dry. And so that's extra, peace of mind for anybody running a fleet where that could happen a lot.
What do you got, Greg?
That's interesting. I never even thought about the slope. That's interesting that you brought that up, and that never even crossed my mind. I don't know about you, Evan, but I find that interesting. So which Vanguard engines currently include the Oil Guard system?
Sure. So we have 2 engines that can be equipped with Oil Guard. We have an 810cc Vanguard V-twin, and then we have a 993cc Vanguard V-twin. And they're available in various horsepowers, but those are the 2 engine models that we offer it on.
That's pretty. That's pretty wild. Now, why is it just offered on those and not like? How come it's not the? How come it's question? How come it's not the standard for like every single engine yet? Or is it too pricey?
So, it really comes down to when you look in the field at what type of equipment run hard all day in really harsh conditions. It tends to be the bigger pieces of equipment. If you're trying to cut a lot of grass fast, you're going to buy the biggest machine you can. Those are the ones that are really pounded hard, that need the extra protection, and where the biggest bang for your buck is. So, really, those are when we went out and canvas the user base, those are the engines that they wanted to see it on.
Oh, wow. So digging into, how the system stands out for the commercial guys, where they're running long hours. I know I certainly am. I can put 1,000 hours a year on my machine. How does the extended oil change interval actually work? And kind of what's the real world benefit to this? I mean, guys probably don't even know. I mean, I don't even really know what that is either.
Sure. So, a conventional engine, the oil change intervals are 100 hours. And with Oil Guard, you can go to 500 hours. And for a lot of, fleet cutters, that'll take them a whole season. So, not only do you have less oil changes to do, but you can do those oil changes in the, I call it an off season, where you don't need a piece of machinery running, for all the daylight hours available. And so it allows you to do the oil changes at a time where it's less costly to you from an opportunity cost standpoint.
How long does it take? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, when it does come time for an oil change, it's really quick and easy. That was another thing that we focused on from a design standpoint. The tank has a drain hose. Most of the OEMs that use it put a toolless valve on the bottom. So really all you need is a drain pan underneath that valve.
That's simple.
You open it up, it drains out. The filter is right underneath the cap on top of the tank. So the cap is very, very large diameter. I'm going to say it's like 3 inches in diameter, 3.5 inches. You pop that off and you grab the filter from the top side, you pull it out, you drop a new one in, and you pour a new 5-quart container of oil in it, and you're done. So it's really efficient to do the oil change.
Wow.
It's toolless. The filter itself is about, if I remember correctly, it's 2 to 3 times. It has 2 to 3 times the capacity that a standard oil filter on a conventional engine would have. So, it's really, in a way, I think of it as like an oil dialysis machine out there in the tank. The oil goes out, it gets cleaned, cooled, and sent back fresh and healthy.
That's amazing. How does the external oil reservoir play into engine cooling and protection? So how does that work?
Yeah, so
you
it's
talked about it a little bit.
What's that?
I said you talked about it a little bit, but you go into a little more detail, I think.
Yeah, so this is where the partnership between us and the equipment manufacturer comes into play. We have an application engineering team that works with the engineering teams, at the OEMs that use OilGuard to identify a place on the unit where cool air is going to get to the tank. We have about 5 or 6 different configurations of the tank that are designed to, fit the various locations. Most of the time, the tanks are kind of located, if you're standing behind a Z, they're located between the engine and the operator, the seat, usually either in the center or off to the side where cooler air can be found. And the tank surface area is designed to give us a certain cooling rate that we know we need. And then, of course, like I mentioned, the aluminum material, it sheds heat very quickly.
So we've kind of touched on this like a little bit, Bob. So the maintenance intervals compared to the standard engine without the oil guard, and that's every 100 hours. This is every 500 now. Have you guys factored cost savings into this yet over time? I mean, less oil, fewer changes, reduced downtime. And what are the cost savings?
Yeah. So that was one of the biggest questions. If at the end of the day, if you're going to pay extra money for a feature doesn't matter what you're buying, you want to know, if you're in business to make money, you want to know what's the return on investment. And so we actually, on our website, we have a tool that we created for, any equipment operator or owner to go in and calculate what the savings is going to be.
Oh, really?
Typically, it's like 60% of what you're spending now. It can be more. It can be less. There's a bunch of variables that go into it. So you can't just pick a number for any one person, but I'd encourage anybody interested to hop on our Vanguard website and, it's a short questionnaire. It's number of hours between oil changes, on average, average labor time for an oil change, hourly labor rate, average oil cost, and then the filter cost, and it'll tell you how much you're going to save per year based on, what you're using today.
That's a great idea, putting something out there like that. That's how many guys use that? Do you know how many people have used that? Can you tell on your system?
I can't. I'm sure there's somebody in our IT department that can, but we get a lot of We get
That's
a lot
what
of
IT's
questions at
for.
the show, and people have mentioned that they've been on there and they've used it. So I think it's used fairly frequently once people know it's out there.
Okay. How does the system impact the longevity of the engine? Does it help your engine run longer? Because Evan and I just saw some story recently where the guy said, multiply your horsepower by 100, and that's how many hours you're going to get out of an engine. So a 26 horsepower engine, 100 hours, it's 2,600 hours. That's they're saying that's how much you're going to get. I don't know how accurate that was, but this is a great guy to ask. But how long? Excuse me. What's the impact of the longevity in the field? Will that make my engine last longer?
This system absolutely makes an engine last longer. I can't tell you how much I wish I could give you an actual quantified number for that. We've talked about this subject many, many times, and there's just too many variables in the field to actually quantify it and give you a number. I can tell you this: every mower, every professional cutter that buys mowers that they know are going to get pushed to their absolute limit, number one thing on their must-have list now is oil guard. And you'll see that if you go to the expo show or you talk to people out there. They know it helps the engines last longer. And it really comes down to, I mean, if you're a homeowner who, is just going to tool along at 3 to 4 miles an hour and cut your grass every 3 days where it's not really loading the mower, I mean, that engine's going to last forever, right? But that's not who we're after here. That's not who we're really trying to help. I mean, really, the guys that pound this equipment every day, day in, day out, they're cutting at 10, 12 miles an hour, loading the engine down. That's where you see engines start to, go to their knees more quickly than, when you're just, casually mowing as a homeowner. And so, really, oil is the lifeblood of the engine. And if you keep it healthy, you can push it much harder for much longer than, if it gets tired, oxidized, overheated. And so we know that for the people that make a living with it, who, push it 10 hours a day and push it, at speeds of 10, 12, maybe even more. I think I've heard up to 15 miles an hour. The oil guard is going to extend their engine life. I can't give you an actual number because it very much depends on, the conditions. And I mean, in Florida, they're mowing in 100-degree weather routinely.
Oh boy.
I would think those are the places you're going to really, really benefit by it. Or even up here where we're at here in Wisconsin, the summers, in the spring, the grass is wet, it's thick. We do get pretty warm days up here, and they're basically mowing so fast they're creating green pulp coming out of the chute, and that takes a lot of horsepower, and that puts a lot of heat into the oil, and so when you take care of the oil, those things just keep running.
I mean, Bob, you really hit the nail on the head. It really all boils down to the oil. And so let's get on the ground here, talk about some of the dealer and operator experience. What kind of feedback are you hearing from the lawn pros and the fleet owners? I'd be curious on the fleet owners. You have guys who have 4 different crews. They got a lot of mowers. They must be kind of kicking back and relaxing because they're like, hey, I don't have to change the oil until next year type of thing. Like what said, I'm more so curious probably on the fleet end.
Yeah, this is the best part of my job. Really, is interfacing with people when you hit a home run like oil guard. Going out and collecting feedback from the users is great, right? I wouldn't call them kick back and relax kind of guys, no matter what. They are hardworking people out there. Professional mowers. People who do that for a living. They really know the equipment. They work hard. It's not comfortable conditions, so they tend to be pretty candid with the feedback. And like I said, this system is number one on their list. Obviously the maintenance crews love the system. They really don't have to do a whole lot, and they don't have to repair engines that were run out of oil. So, the feedback has been great. Less downtime, longer life. What they're more amazed by is how much they can push the equipment without issues.
How much training did the dealers have to go through? Is it a pretty simple plug and play kind of thing, or is there some work that they have to get involved with?
So the systems, come from the OEMs already, set up. There's not a lot of training because the system's so simple to use. As far as working on it, there are some differences, obviously in terms of the way the oil is handled. Is some component differences. We have a very thorough training program, for all of our engines, regardless if you're talking OilGuard or anything else. All the Briggs & Stratton dealers get trained. All of our OEM dealers get trained, in the latest technology. So there's just really not a lot for them to worry about specific to OilGuard. There's just not a whole lot there to say because the system is really pretty simple.
Simplicity is my tune, Bob. Now, can someone, they have a Briggs engine or a Vanguard engine, so I'm pretty sure my right standard, when I demoed I don't have one, when I demoed the right standard 61K ZK, can someone retroactively install this guard on an existing Vanguard engine? I didn't know if it's like a plug and play with that, or there's a reservoir. It's probably just space though, too. I mean, you probably could, but if the engine is not, if the mower is not designed for that space, and you could, but then you couldn't, correct?
Yeah, you can't retrofit it to an existing engine that would be out there. We work closely with the OEMs, as I mentioned. There's brackets that the OEMs create in order to hold the tank to their specific piece of equipment. And then, as I mentioned, there's a different oil pump setup inside the engine. So, you'd really have to take the bottom off of the engine, the sump off the engine. You'd have to bolt parts on. It's just not a practical retrofit type of thing. You have to buy it already equipped from the dealer.
Okay. Are there specific mower brands or models that are paired best with your system then?
Well, actually, most of the major manufacturers, the major brands that you've heard of out there, are using it, particularly on their top end equipment. John Deere just launched it on their Z9, which is their top of the line piece of equipment. Obviously, the Ferris that you guys have already seen. We've got Ferris 2100, 2200, 3200, 3300 models, and the Z2 and Z3 stand-ons have it. The Toro Z Master and Grandstand, the X Mark X Series. Spartan has 4 models. Wright has their ZXT. And then Skaggs incline mower. I was talking earlier about slope mowers. Skaggs incline mower, the Tree Fog, also uses it because of its high angle capabilities.
I didn't know that. So you're saying the Toro Grandstand has a Vanguard on that?
Yeah, it's available with it. Yeah.
Okay, because I have the Grandstand Multi-Force. It's got the Kohler or Railcore engine. Man, it'd be cool once my Kohler engine blows to be able to put a Vanguard OilGuard system on that. But it's just probably just space and real estate. I had no idea. I hadn't really. Greg, had you seen any Toro engines with the Vanguard on it? Maybe I haven't been paying attention. Huh.
I have not. I saw the at Wheels and Blades when I was there. I think I saw the Ferris with one of them on there. I just happened to be in picking up something, and we got in a discussion, and he pointed it out to me, and I thought, wow, that's a pretty neat system there. So, but that's first. Honestly, I think that's the first time I've seen it. I don't know if I've seen it out in the field at all, but you know what it's like. We're trying to work and get done, and we're not necessarily staring down some guy's mower. So, I don't want mower envy.
I already have mower envy with all the opportunities, Bob. We've had to kind of demo stuff and try different things, but the big thing is what you've been hitting on here is great. It's just maintenance. I mean, I can change the oil on my multi-force relatively quickly, but I would like it. I mean, it sounds like, so back to how you change it on the Vanguard, is it's as simple as just draining a plug and then that's it. And then you just fill it back up with 6 quarts. And then, well, what about the filter again? Can you touch on what oil filter that the Vanguard system uses and then how often you have to change that? Maybe I probably missed it. I'm so tired.
No problem. So really it's everything with regard to the oil change, filter change. It's all a 500-hour oil change interval. Basically, yeah, you've got a tank with a large cap on it. You pop that cap off, you'll be looking at the filter. The filter has a little plastic tab on it. You just lift it up, drop it in the trash can.
Wow.
The new filter drops right in. It's an automotive style filter. If you've got any cars that have the, I guess they call it the newer technology filters where they come out as an individual paper element. I'm not sure it's paper in there, but anyway, you pull that out and you drop a new one in just like you would in a car. And the other nice thing about the way they located this filter, it sits right in the mouth of the oil fill port. And so when you pull it out, you pop the new filter in. Any oil you put in that, any potential debris that would, let's say, just fall in there just by accident.
Say grass.
Right. It goes on the dirty side of the filter, meaning that no external debris can get into the reservoir as long as that filter's sitting in there. So, if you pour new oil in and for some reason there's, some contaminants in it or whatever, it's going to get filtered out before it even gets in the tank.
And
so we paid careful attention to making sure that, nothing gets in that tank that can harm the engine.
Now this takes, did you say 15W50 synthetic oil? It's specific Vanguard oil, correct?
Yeah, the Vanguard oil is what we'd recommend. It's synthetic oil, and it's specifically designed to maximize the life of the engine.
Now, this is great. So basically with this, you're virtually having no messes when you change the oil because, Greg, I don't know about you, Greg. I've made quite the amount of messes on my engine frame when I'm changing out the multi-force on oil, but now I figured out a way to put a drain pan like underneath like the bracket where the controls on the hydros lift up and down. But Greg, haven't you made a mess changing your oil?
It's in a spot where when I take the filter off, that's when I get all the mess. That's it just kind of drops. So I go through a fair amount of paper towel when I'm trying to change my oil. I just keep packing it under where the filter is, and I do have a little that you had that flexible. I'm trying to think what a flexible oil drainer. So where I can bend it, flexible funnel. And I've been using that a little bit too, but I go through a lot of oil on that. So any upcoming innovations or updates to the system that you have going on, or?
We're always taking feedback from the field and looking for opportunities to, further refine our engines and our systems. We would like to extend the oil change even further if we can in the future. I won't say that's something that's, imminent in the next couple of years, but, it takes a while when you put a new technology in the field to collect enough feedback that you can be, 100% certain that you can make a design change to extend oil life. There's one thing about, doing it in a lab, and we do thousands of hours of tests. But field conditions are pretty hard to duplicate in a lab when it comes to, duplicating the dirt, the grime, the debris, I'll just say the abuse that engines see in the field. So we're collecting that information. We have ideas, but we don't really want to, like I said, oil is the lifeblood of the engine. So when we extend the oil life intervals or oil change intervals, we will be more than 100% certain that it's going to extend the life of the engine. But really, what we're trying to do is increase awareness about Oil Guard, because I think the people who have experienced with it, I know the people that have had experience with it, they're not going back to the old technology. Now it's about really getting out there and getting more people familiar with it. I mean, if you'd asked my grandpa if he wanted to buy a truck with air conditioning and power windows, back in the 70s, he'd have said, bah, who needs all that, right?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Now you can't buy one without that stuff on it. And it's just a matter of years
Becoming
of
standard.
people. Yeah, people become, once you're exposed to it, you won't live without it. And I think anybody that, tries Oil Guard will absolutely, they won't look back at all. And so we want to obviously add additional technology, but, we first want to get more people using it and get that feedback from the field so that, we can hit another home run with the next, 2.0 version.
Well, Bob, one good thing about our show is we're a real world show and we don't trim everything up. Dan just joined the call. I don't know if Dan, how you doing?
Hey, this is at that point where you're not sure if it's better just to no show versus be this late. So here's what I'm doing. I'm trying to prove to every one of your listeners that you just got to give it a shot. Even if you are 95% late, it's still best to give your hosts the opportunity to reject you. So yeah, I'm doing really well. Obviously, dealing with an unplanned and uncommunicated juggling today, but that can be day to day for everybody. So I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having us. As I've been listening to Bob for the last 3 or 4 minutes, I can already tell he's done a great job representing the technology and framing things up for you. So I'm doing great. Thank you again so much for having us and allowing me to come in at this late date.
Well, Dan, I was the guy who sent the invite like 2 days late because I was busy mowing and changing the oil on my multi-force. So Dan, as we land the plane here, I could probably answer this question myself, but what would you say to a solo guy or a small company wondering if the system is worth it? I mean, I'd want one because you're doing less oil changes. You're out in the field. You're making more money.
The system has just phenomenal payback to the owner that decides to go with Oil Guard, and an owner operator will definitely benefit. And we absolutely feel that we want to be at that point in their journey of growing the company that they're starting. Because it has such a great benefit when the entire fleet has Oil Guard on it. So it's almost like there's a disadvantage to injecting this technology into a fleet that you have to be careful to avoid, so that you don't have an oil change interval that is disconnected to what this technology can handle. But if you're at the owner operator stage, this is absolutely that place. Just like Bob was talking about, get that pickup truck with air conditioning, cruise control, sunroof, because your life and as you grow, your fleet will be completely connected to this technology that really changes a turf landscaper's business model from the ground up in terms of maintenance and total cost of ownership.
All right. Well, we've talked a little bit about this, and we've spoken about the expo. Where can guys learn more about the system and the Oil Guard system in action? Dealers, expo. What's the best way for them to learn about this? Do you want to have them contact you, Dan, since Bob took care of all this
payback,
here
because there's not enough free coffees in my life left to give to Bob to cover for this. There's definitely digital assets out there. This type of thing is a fantastic resource for users. But as we move forward toward the fall, Equip Expo will definitely be a great opportunity. You'll get to try equipment that has it on. You're going to get to talk to myself, Bob, and the rest of the team about the technology. You're going to be able to encounter the technology on, I'm going to say, 8 different products at Expo, probably more, but I just don't know exactly what people are bringing. Since it's new stuff usually ends up at Louisville. So we're expecting our OEM partners to bring plenty of these samples for people to try out on the turf. We'll have a cutaway at Equip as well. You're going to be able to see the system connected to an engine, and the parts that you want to look at inside are going to be exposed and available to you. The system runs electronically. It will turn the engine over and move oil throughout the demo. But there's going to be plexiglass windows where you want to see what's happening. You're going to get to see how big the filter is. You're going to get to see how easy the oil filter is to change. You're going to get to see how big the opening is for that 500-hour refill. You're not going to miss a beat. Not going to miss a drop. Yeah, really, the touching, feeling, experiencing that in real world is all for you at Equip. Aside from that, it's a technology that has enough notoriety that you're going to be able to call up your dealer, ask them when they're going to get one in. So we're pretty comfortable on online assets, digital assets, social media assets. It's out there, and we're always calling it OilGuard, so it's easy to find.
All right. Well, guys, thanks a lot for joining us today. We really appreciate it. You coming on and spending some time. Bob, how much design, I'm just curious, it just crossed my mind, how much did you have in terms of design? I know you said you're an engineer with this system in particular. Was this kind of like your brainchild, or is this some other guys that just came together, or how did this all come about?
I wish I could take that kind of credit for it. No, there's some very, very talented folks at Briggs & Stratton that engineer our engines. I'm not one of them. I am a product manager, so I get to sit, basically on their shoulders and watch this stuff develop. I'd say like the marketing team, like Dan's team and myself, our role in it is to go out and basically collect all of the user feedback. What are the problems they have? What do we need to solve? Not really, dictate a solution, but identify the problem and paint the target correctly and accurately. And then we have a very talented team at Briggs & Stratton to do the problem solving on the engineering side. And we're heavily involved with it, but no, I can't take credit for it being my brainchild at all. It was, I would say, it was a combination of listening to our customers and some very clever and innovative thinkers in our engineering department.
So if I could just add to that.
Well, thanks for joining. I'm sorry.
If I could just add to that, I think one of the strengths that came into the design, we're not going to be able to find the one guy that had a napkin somewhere and show could prove that was the first idea. The design itself was proven in motorsports with remote oil reservoirs known affectionately as a dry sump. I'm not a fan of that terminology. Dry sump kind of doesn't suggest that there's oil in it. So dry sump systems in motorsports have been used for years and years to have a remote oil reservoir and plumbing to get oil where it needs to go. But I think the thing that really came to bear here was the heat of the oil, the fluid nature of oil where it flowed, and vibration with mowers going over terrain, just running the deck. There's a lot of vibration that's being dealt with there. And yeah, it was the designers that were able to use the tools, often CFD, and I'm going to let Bob give me his best estimate at what CFD stands for. I think I've got mine, but I don't want to be wrong. But all those tools are in our wheelhouse at Briggs & Stratton, and we use them every day. And on our Vanguard brand, we use them a bit more because there's just higher durability needed. And with those tools readily available, we were able to tackle the complex nature of a remote tank hanging off the engine with oil in it, moving around, bouncing around, all the fluid dynamics of metallurgy and materials, and to design this. So as I cap this off, I'm just going to ask Bob for the CFD definition, if he's got it or if he's Googled it in the meantime.
Computerized fluid dynamics.
All right, there you go. So that's essentially making everything vector and analyzing the forces within materials, thicknesses, distances, things like that all get computerized and then analyzed through their dynamics of vibration and use. So that took us a real long way with this technology to get it to real life and speed to market.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. We really appreciate you coming on the show, spending some time with us. I think guys are going to find that this is something that they really want to take a look at. They might be looking at some additional cost savings, and opportunity costs, as you had mentioned earlier, Bob, that, just not having to crawl under. I don't know about you, Evan. It takes me 20 minutes to a half an hour to change the oil because you got to start the engine up, make sure it gets warm. Mine just happens to have a slow drain. I got to get the engine a little bit warmer, I guess. But I mean, I'm spending 20 minutes, half an hour, and it's frustrating to know that, that oil change is coming. So this is going to be something I think it's going to be really beneficial for guys over time.
Well, we're happy to get the opportunity to chat with you guys today. It's always fun talking about this type of innovation when it has a big impact in the field, and this one does. So yeah, anytime.